Hello, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started and see if we can get through the information we have to share with you in the 30 minutes that we have today. We will be staying on the webinar a little bit longer than that time allotment to answer any questions you do have. So don't feel confined to that time yet. That's the time we've asked of you. So if you do need to depart, we absolutely respect that and wish you well with your afternoon. Let me start by introducing myself. I'm J.R. Reisner. I'm Director of Admissions and Recruitment for the MBA for Executive Program at the Paul Merage School of Business at UCI. I am thrilled to be a part of this team. It is such an honor to be able to share my alma mater with prospective students and have the opportunity to welcome you into the Anteater community. But you're here today to hear from alumni, to hear about their experience. Why did they make this investment? Why did they make the investment financially, of time, of their personal choices to invest in themselves for impact in their career and professional lives? That's what we're here to hear today. Before we get started though, I do want to go over one item of business, if I may. If you could please rename your Zoom if it doesn't reflect who you are. If you happen to be on your sister's, your daughter's, shared computer or the dog's Zoom account today, if you would please put in your name. If you're unable to do so, in the chat box, please let us know who you are and which Zoom account you're on so that we are able to follow up with you appropriately after today's webinar. Finally, I want to let you know that we'd like to have a bit of a casual environment. Throw your questions in that chat box. We will work them right in. We will also have open Q&A very early on in the webinar because we want to have a conversation with you. We want to make sure your questions are answered today. So I'm going to hand things over to Dina. Dr. Dina Brown is our Senior Associate Director of Career Services for Imba, and she is going to be working with us today to coordinate this conversation and just kind of keep us flowing through our time together, and I will see you all again on the other side.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Really excited to have you all here today. And just like JR said, is that really we are here for you to truly have the best alumni experience and actually have the alumni themselves get a chance to share with you who they are, why in Imba, but more importantly, not just why in Imba, why in Imba at Paul Merage School of Business, why that particular Imba is so unique and how it's impacted and shaped their development and their actual career. And why now? Why is now a good time? Some people think, I have so many different things going on, but if you truly want to make a shift from where you are to where you truly want to be, then an Imba is a way to go. And so you're going to have an opportunity to ask questions. So shortly after all of our panelists introduce themselves, we are going in, they're going to tell you a little bit about their personal story so that you have an insight of what their secret sauce is, what their unique value add is to the conversation. So I want you to have those questions ready, dropping them in the chat, because we will immediately move to the chat box to see what those questions are. Now, if you're saying, well, I don't know really what I don't know what I want to ask, don't worry. Then we will engage in facilitator conversations and facilitator questions, but we want to make sure that we answer the questions that you personally have today first, and so that you get what you need to make whatever decision, which is, of course, Paul Merage, after hearing all of these amazing alumni stories. So without further ado, I'd like to do just a quick intro, and then they will actually introduce themselves. We have Tanuja Bandari, who's from Imba 2020, Omar Morales, who's an Imba 2018, Diana Ramos, who's an Imba 2020, and Will Wallach, who's an Imba 2019. These are all phenomenal members and prior graduates of the Imba program. So I would love for you to again introduce yourself, and why don't we just go in the order of those that as they are listed on the screen. So Tanuja, we'll start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and whatever else you want us to know about your experience.
Okay. Good morning. Let me know if you can't hear me. I just wanted to welcome you all and thank you for having me on this panel. I am a radiation oncologist. I'm in full clinical practice and I practice at City of Hope. So as you may know or may not know, City of Hope is opening up a new cancer center in Irvine. It's scheduled to break ground and open up in 2021. However, it may be delayed a little bit with all the COVID going on. But my reason for joining the program is because, UCI is in my backyard. I did my undergraduate training there, and I was really pleased with my undergraduate training. And I wanted to learn about the business of medicine. And so I thought, with building this new cancer center in Irvine, I thought the UCI Imba program would really help me understand the business aspect of medicine, because I didn't get that in medical school in my residency training. And so it was a great experience. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Omar.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me here. Same as Tanuja. Glad to be here. Tell you a little bit about my experience at the Paul Mirage. Currently, I'm the vice president for two companies here at Latera Development. One is a developer where we take basically land and entitle it and get it ready to be built. And the other one is another company that we just created where we are the builders, the general contractor. One of the reasons why I decided to go into the Imba program and specifically at Paul was because I wanted a pretty good education. I think Paul Mirage is one of the best ones out there. Maybe similar to many of you. I was accepted to UCLA, USC, Pepperdine, but the reason why I decided to join Paul Mirage was because I wanted to be able to meet and get a sense of family with all my classmates, and that was one of the main reasons. The other main reason was I thought Paul Mirage is on the uptrend where we are going to become one of the best schools here in the US, or at least that's how I see it. And that's basically why I joined. And I wasn't mistaken in joining Mirage, and I'm really happy with everything that they have provided to me, and the education is fantastic. So that's it. We'll chat more if you guys want at the end of the Zoom. And with that, I'll just pass it to Deanna.
As my camera is trying to load, I'm not sure what's happening with my camera, but I'll speak until the camera kicks in. I'm Diana Ramos, and I'm a physician, as well as Tanuja. Tanuja and I were in the same class. And the reason why I'm an OBGYN, and my full-time job is public health medical officer for the California Department of Public Health. And the reason why I wanted to pursue an MBA was to go beyond the scope of my job, and that is to go into entrepreneurship. So I actually did a certificate with entrepreneurship. So I'm not sure if folks are aware that those are options that you have, but you can actually get a certificate with certain emphasis. At least for our class, they had it for healthcare, for entrepreneurship, for digital, and real estate too. So for those of you who like dabbling in real estate, but you know, I had options too in terms of programs. But the one thing I would say is that, and somebody told me this, and I didn't understand until I was through the program halfway through, is that so much more of the education goes and it happens outside of the classroom. There are so many conferences, so many meetings, so many opportunities to network, even now during the time of COVID, virtually and in person with others who are like-minded and want to pursue what you're doing. So that's something else to consider when you are looking to choose a school, is the opportunity for learning and for networking is huge at UCI, at the Paul Mirage School. And so there's so much to do. I'm now part of their incubator here at UCI, the Wayfinder, and that would have never happened had I not participated and been a part of the program for the Paul Mirage School. So I'll turn it over to Will now.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm glad JR said that we're being casual because I'm coming to you from my car, but I know how important these are for making a decision, so I did not want to miss this one at all. I work for a company called New Light Technologies. I'm their vice president in innovation and sustainability and application. I think there's a couple other things in there. And we take greenhouse gas out of the air and turn it into other materials, biodegradable materials, like cutlery, foodware, that can be used by the public. So when I started at New Light, there were about 6 people. Now there are 70 people. But I knew that New Light was going to continue to grow. If I wanted to grow with the company, then I needed to get an MBA. I always worked in small companies, so I was always entrepreneurial. But even though I had that, I knew I needed the actual degree to continue to grow with the company as it continued to scale. As I looked around, I decided on Paul Mirage because they had the digital certificate. I looked at what's coming down the road for the next couple of decades in terms of sustainability. I knew I had my chemistry degree. I've been working in sustainability for many, many years. And I knew that digital transformation would eventually disrupt how the traditional sciences like chemistry, biology, and physics work and how that will affect sustainability. So I wanted to position myself to be one of the leaders in that area, which is why I chose Paul Mirage and specialized particularly in the digital certificate. So that is my background there. And I will toss it back to Dr. Brown, I suppose.
Oops. Okay, great. Thank you all for sharing, giving us a little bit of insight. We already have questions rolling in there. And for these questions, all of you can turn your camera on because any of you or all of you can actually answer the question if it applies to you. Our first question, and thank you, Tiffany, for this question, is that did any of the panelists do the digital transformation track? If so, would you share your actual experience?
Oh, I did that one. So I really enjoyed it because I had never been exposed to any of that area before. It wasn't like programming where you're trying to learn new coding. It was learning the strategy around what digital transformation is and how it can affect your industry. So you got to go out and you got to see other industries out there and how digital transformation has changed them and how could that affect you. I know, like, I talk to people in the sciences that don't think that digital transformation can affect them, but Kodak didn't think digital transformation was going to affect them either. The big thing was attending the Road to Reinvention conference, which will actually be tomorrow this year. So I will be attending that one, where companies like Nordstrom and Delta, their chief innovation or technology officer, will come and speak, and they will give you insight into what they're doing, and what they're doing is just amazing. I don't know if that really helps, but that's a quick tidbit on the digital transformation certificate.
Is there anyone else that wanted to share? If there's anyone else have that particular certificate, or does anyone else have any insights on if they didn't, that maybe they thought it might be a good idea? Any other insights before we move to facilitator questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to share that you can actually do more than one certificate. So we had some people that did 3 certificates. And so it's just something nice. It's a good option to have. And when you're putting it on your resume, your CV, it's helpful.
Okay, well, thanks. Let me go check the chat really quick. Oh, I got another question. Fantastic. What is the one thing you found most valuable from this program? And that's, everyone can actually answer that. What is the one thing you found most valuable from the program?
Okay, I'll go first again. Well, two things. First, I didn't realize it until I was 75% of the way through the program, was the network that you build. So a lot of people concentrate on grades. I definitely concentrated on grades for the first 75%. And then about 25%, it was left to do. I was like, oh, it's all about the network. So building that network has started to really pay off for me. The second thing is it does change the way you think. So it does make you dig deeper. Even if you think you're there, it changes your mindset in some way. And I'm sure it changes it for everyone in a different way. But those were the two benefits for me in the program.
I guess I'll go next, and I have to concur with Will. Relationship is a key element of the education that you get here at Paul. But in addition to relationship is the ability to keep those relationships, right? And I believe because of the way the program is set up, you will be able to keep relationships with you for the rest of your life. And that's quite important, right? And yeah, I guess that's it. I mean, I'm concurring with Will just because relationships is really a key element. Education is education. You're gonna get it anywhere, right? But it's what you do with that education, with the people that went through the program.
Yeah, I guess for me, the things that were most important were, one is that we have classes that are live, and I don't know how things have changed or how they're going to change in the upcoming year for the class, the 2021s or going forward. But at least we had, live class, and that was really important to get to know your professors and, be there, get their experiences and, hands-on information. And the other takeaways were the residentials that we did. And our first residential was an international one. We went to China with Professor Lane. And the second was a international or a residential in Washington, D.C., where we got to go firsthand, speak to, be in the White House, talk to, Peter Navarro and staff members, and understand how healthcare policy was made and the thought and the efforts behind it. And that was really valuable as a clinician, and to know what we do and how we do it, and to take that back into where I practice. I don't know if Diana has anything to add about the residentials, but I thought they were very valuable to me and to my colleagues with the information that we gained.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Tanuja and Will and Omar. Networking was the people that you meet, I think, is the most important thing. So maybe not so much networking, but it's just the people. Right now, probably you're thinking about the MBA and you're thinking, oh my goodness, it's going to be so much work. It's not going to be so much work because it's going to be a team. It's going to be a team doing all of the work. So that's the first realization. The second realization is, yes, those residentials were amazing. They actually help you see what business is like firsthand. And now I can even, share stories with other business people, whereas before I'm like, oh, I don't know any of the business talk. Now I can actually throw a word out and feel comfortable and know what it means. And so it just opens up a whole new world. But definitely the residentials were fantastic, and the people were great as well. So it's just, if you love to learn, if you want to immerse yourself in an environment that's going to be supportive of your learning and help you learn and get to that level that you want, I would say the program did that.
Excellent. Thank you all for sharing. We have another question. I love it. Please keep the questions coming in the chat. So this next question from Georgia is, did you feel that you were amongst a balance of peers versus being under or overqualified? Ooh. Whoever wants to take it.
I guess I'll answer that first. So when we had joined the program, we were I think that was the first year that they had a combined healthcare MBA and the regular MBA class. And so we were all merged into one classroom. And so I thought that was really valuable for me because I didn't understand other businesses and how they do things, but it was helpful to hear how, people do things outside healthcare. So for instance, my group, our core group, I was the only physician, but others worked for, military. We had one work for Johnson and Johnson. We had one work for, a company like Uber. And it was interesting to hear everybody's perspective and how they did things differently at their institution, because it really helped me see things from an outside perspective. And so I think that collaboration is really important, to have a group of your core, teammates that you work with and learn from. And it was probably one of the best experiences I've had, because I got to learn things in a new light. And so for me, it was a valuable experience to have the diversity. And I don't know how, you feel, Omar, or Diana, but I thought it was really helpful.
Yeah, I would agree.
Go ahead, Diana.
The diversity of education is great, because I had a chance to sit with administrative people who were from companies that I had read about, and just to
Right.
see that the diversity of thought is great, because you don't want to, it gets old. Everybody starts thinking healthcare. We actually had an option to stay with the doctors or not. And I thought, okay, I love my peers, but I want to see what else the world has to offer. So I think that the diversity of all levels of education and experience was really helpful.
To add to what Diana is saying, I think that also Paul Mirage does a great job in balancing that over and under qualification. And so I don't think that you will feel like you're out of place. If it was under qualification, they shouldn't be doing an executive MBA program and so forth, right? So I think that, yeah, we do a good job in marrying the right type of people into the program. Yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, I agree with all they all say. Qualified in some areas and underqualified in other areas, but in the end, you get into this program. If you get into this program, they know what they're doing. You got in for a reason. You are qualified to do it. So never be afraid and be worried about being underqualified for the program.
Excellent answers. I love it. And they keep coming. You guys are on fire. So our next question from Margarito is, how did the Imba program affect your work-life balance? Could you describe what a typical 3-week cycle looked like? I see the shock on the faces, like, what? What do you mean work-life balance? Does it exist?
I have to say that is not easy. You definitely have to put in the work. But you get used to it. The first 3 weeks or so is like drinking from a fire hose, to tell you the truth. But you start to get used to it. Your brain starts to get used to it. And since everything is on a group level, there are times where you're going to have to be away from school, and that's why you have a team, your teammates, right? And so you get to be balanced. That being said, it's going to be a little bit tough, and some subjects are easier for others, for ones, and not for others. But at the end of the day, it's you're there to learn, and learning takes practice and it takes effort, right? And that's the other thing. Don't go into the program just thinking that you're just gonna get a degree. That you won't get any out of it if you're thinking that way. Just go into it with being fully conscious about I'm going to learn, I'm going to use this for the rest of my life. I don't know how many of you are going to go and do another degree after this, but this is it for many of you. So if you decide to do this, just be in it and try to learn as much as you can, and you will get the best results out of it.
Yeah, I have to agree with Omar. I think the first few weeks, it is kind of like drinking from a fire hose. You're not sure how to balance all the reading material, all the work, all the assignments. But then you learn how to manage your time with work and your family. And you also start to realize that you can count on your teammates. And that's really important because, you don't have to do everything. There's, kind of divide and conquer, and everyone's, has their skill set. And so I think you kind of end up working with your team very closely and figuring out how to manage things and start relying on them. And I think that's really helpful to know that you can count on other people, and that, you have a team of, 5 or 6 group members, and they're all a good source of information, and the collaboration is really important.
And I just wanted to share, because I have a son, teenage son now. And so it was hard. And that's missing soccer games and missing events, and then also taking call at night. So that, and built in with school, it's not easy, but have your family be part of the whole process so that they can understand and they can help support you. The one thing to remember is that life happens. The classes are recorded. So don't feel like, oh my goodness, what happens if I miss a class? The classes are actually recorded. You can see the classes again. And there's support. Again, you're not alone. It's a whole team that's really doing a lot of the coursework together. So work-life balance, yes, it's a little bit of a compromise, but always remember too, it's only temporary. and this too shall pass. So that's what I kept on telling myself. It gets better as time goes on, like Tanuja said.
That's been a hot question actually in the chat. It's been asked different versions of the same questions, but I believe you all hit on that. There's only one piece that wasn't expounded upon, but even though you hit the topic of how do you kind of manage that, was the question about whether or not you have children and their ages. Other than that, you guys have covered all those other areas. So if anyone started the program with children and sharing maybe the ages, because maybe that would add a different or unique perspective to the response, because if you have little bitties, it's different than if you have adult type of children. So I don't know if anyone can or would like to speak to that.
So I have a 14-year-old. Now he's 14. So he was 12 years old, middle school, when I was in the program. But there were female students that were pregnant, actually had a baby during the program. There must have been about 4 babies born to some of the men in the program. And so it really is a balance. And again, you can't emphasize enough that it really is the teamwork, helping each other. If one person had a family illness, and there is flexibility with the program. If you have to take a short leave, the program is very flexible to working with you. And that is so important to realize, because as I said, life happens and you need a program that's going to be supportive. And, in hearing other people's experiences, and even myself, I can tell you that the program is very supportive. So if that's a concern, they've got your back.
What a great answer.
Anyone
else?
I don't have any kids, but I can say that there were plenty of Imba babies. One person had their husband pass away. As everyone has said, the people are there to support you, and that's why you have people like me who don't have kids who can pick up all the slack. So we're all there, we're all in it together.
Nothing like teamwork. And I'm going to tell you guys, as a team, you were extremely impactful, phenomenal in response. The questions from the chat were fantastic and really covered any and everything that I could have even possibly asked as a facilitator. So I want to say, number one, applaud you, say thank you for answering and just really giving us such a big such great insight into your alumni, to your experience, and being able to share again, like your journey. And more importantly, to those of you asking such great questions, is that this really helps us get an insight on what you really want to know. What are the real things that you want to know when you're making a decision like this? And so I want to turn it over to JR unless there was something else. I know that we pushed right up against 12:30, so I don't see any other questions in the chat that are there. So I'll go ahead and be respectful of your time and turn it over to JR so she could close us out.
Thank you, Dina. Thank you so much for helping us through this conversation today, which, as you said, is so organic. And this atmosphere, the way we're interacting with you today, is the experience you will have with the Imba staff through your entire admission program. I want to thank today Tanuja, Diana, Omar, and Will. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. Though we can't be together in person, it is great to have you by our side as we're talking about your experiences, which are really what our prospective students want to know about as they decide if this is the right journey for their next step. So a couple of things I wanted to point out to those of you who are with us today. Some of you I know fairly well. We have been talking for quite a few months and deciding if this is the right year for you. Some of you I have not met yet, and I look forward to that opportunity. The next step following today's webinar will be that I will be reaching out to each and every one of you about the specifics of where you are, where you are in the process. Excuse me. And at that point, we will discuss what's next for you. What's the best step? What is the right timing? Are you ready for an interview? Are you fulfilling a few more application details? Or is there an upcoming webinar that is best for you? So I mentioned in chat, but I want to say again now that everyone online today will be in communication about upcoming events. In particular, save the date for Saturday, November 7th. That is a virtual MBA preview day, and it is a glimpse into what is Imba like. The other thing to really keep in mind is we're here. You can't come to the campus and knock on the door, but we are going to be here for you. Online is the best way to get us quickly, and we will walk you through the process in a very individual way. Imba is that way. You're in this together with your classmates, but you're definitely going to have your own experience through the program. I see there is a question in chat. Let me see if that's relating to anything that I need to answer for you all. Then I'm going to leave you formally with this. The early admission application deadline is December 1st. Don't wait till December 1. But if you apply by December 1, we will give you an admission decision before the holiday period when we go on break over the Christmas, New Year holiday. And then you'll know your plans for next year and be all set to go. The other advantage, no application fee if you apply now. So if you start that application, we'll help you out with a fee waiver and we'll get you through the process. So I'm going to stay online with my team and we will answer any other questions you have for just a few minutes. But if you need to go about your day, thank you so much for joining us. I look forward to talking to you soon.